In this video, Eric and I are joined by a panel of women to discuss all things Dungeons and Dragons. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Attacks of Opportunity. Welcome to a special episode. We are having what I'm going to call Women in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not sure it's a very good title, but it's a little bit descriptive here. We have a panel. Eric is back with me, obviously, Eric Hardenbrook, and some lovely ladies that we're going to discuss D&D from a female perspective. So hopefully I'm going to say as little as possible so I don't get in trouble. Alrighty, so you know who I am. The guy over here, he's Eric Hardenbrook. Say hi to the family.
Hi, everyone. Great to be back again.
Great to have you, my friend. Thank you so much. And to my left in the box over here, Brady Bunch style, is my wife, Jenny.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
And directly south of her is Rebecca, Eric's wife.
Hi, everyone.
And right below me here, south, is my good friend, Elizabeth.
Hello.
And Brittany is here via phone. She plays with Eric and Rebecca, if I'm correct about that.
No,
there's not.
No, we brought in outside influence.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So video is not working with her right now, but she's here on audio. I think she's pumping gas right now. So say hi, Brittany, if you can.
Finished. Hi.
Hey,
Back in my
okay. All righty. Well, welcome. Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And I guess get the car washed.
And my kids, sorry.
And hello, children. Welcome aboard. So
Bud, you can be quiet.
I guess as a 50-year-old man, my first question would be, how did everybody get into Dungeons and Dragons? What introduced you? How long ago was it? And whoever wants to start can start. Free form.
Okay. I actually wanted to start playing when I was still in high school. I had a lot of male friends who played, who kept saying, one day we'll show you how to do that. It happened. I don't know why. I think they were a little iffy on the whole girl thing. When Eric and I started dating, he actually brought me into 2 different gaming groups with him. So it's been about 30 years?
Maybe. I'm not sure I want to admit that.
Well, I got started playing D&D when I met you, John. My now husband, when we first started dating, introduced me to John and Jenny, and was very excited to have me try D&D. He knew I'd like it. When I was in college, I was an avid EverQuest fan, which is basically Dungeons and Dragons computer automated. So it was already, I already knew about like the different classes and somewhat the abilities and things like that. So I'd always heard about it in high school. I'd never played a tabletop game before, except for one time my brother-in-law tried to do, I think, an ElfQuest based tabletop. We had one session. I still remember my elf character's name was New Dawn, and never got to go back to her again. So someday, yeah, maybe I can get you guys to do an ElfQuest campaign if you even know what that is. Yeah, so started playing with you guys, and what was that, 5 years ago or so?
That sounds about right.
And been playing ever since.
I also always wanted to play in high school as well. Didn't really know anybody that played. I watched the cartoon avidly. once I got to college, I met John and his group of friends, and they played, introduced me and my then boyfriend to Dungeons and Dragons, and we played all the time in college. After college, it got more of a here and there when we could get together kind of thing. And then, about 10 years later, we started dating, and I was able to play more often, and we got a really great, and by great, I mean amazingly awesome group together. That includes Elizabeth, her husband, Nick, our friend Matt. We've also had our friend Chaudhry and John Harris and Eric. And so sometimes all of us are there, sometimes some of us are there, but we've done countless campaigns together, and we've been playing ever since.
Jenny, have you seen the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon recently? Because I own it. I have all of the episodes on DVD, and Nick and I, yes, Nick and I tried to watch it last week, and we couldn't get through an episode.
Terrible, right? Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. It's fine.
If you want to actually watch that, what you need to do is introduce it to a child who will then force you to watch it over and over and over again, because we own it too.
Or just get really drunk.
that would probably work too. Yeah.
Brittany, can you hear us? Do you know when you got into?
Sorry. My son likes to talk, so I have it on mute so it's not just constantly talking about the cars driving by. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons baby. We started a campaign. My husband just got into it like 2 months before COVID started. So we started a campaign, did like 3 meetings, and then COVID. So I haven't played much, but I have heard about it. I had a bunch of friends who played it in high school, but they never really talked to me about it. I assume because I figured I wouldn't be interested, because I did mostly band and chorus. I didn't really do a lot of like social gaming, just video games and board games with my family, like Don't Wake Daddy.
I think it's actually really cool that that you are so new to it, because I think you'll be able to bring a different perspective to it than people that have been at it for a long time.
Like I don't know what I'm doing. my first
do any of us?
Well, no. Oh, I don't ever. But my first character I made was a 25-year-old elf, just to give you an idea.
So tiny baby elf.
Yeah.
I think that gives a legitimate, it's the legitimate starting point. It's the sort of things that when you're starting off in a game that you learn these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really interested. Brittany, it was your husband that started the whole thing?
So we have a group of friends out here. We've been doing board game nights for, we've been married almost 10 years. So probably the last 5 years or so, we were doing board game nights, and we'd go over to our friends. They lived on base with us, so we'd go over like across the road and go play board games with them for a few hours and then go back home. I work retail, so my schedule is kind of crazy. And now that we have a son, it's kind of leveled out to the same so that we don't have to get childcare. And I work nights now, so I miss a lot of the board game time that we would have if we were to do it like online like he does. But we did, I want to say, a campaign. One of my husband's friends has been into D&D since high school, so he started a campaign, and one of his friends had been into D&D for a while. So they all got together and wanted to start one. So Mike was like, well, I want to start too, and he asked me, and I was like, yes, obviously. I used to play Dark Age of Camelot in costumes so that I could pretend I was in D&D. And that was before LARPing was a whole, well, I say it was before I knew LARPing was a thing. But I didn't know about cosplay. I didn't know about Dungeons and Dragons. My dad got Dark Age of Camelot when it came out, and I was like, yes, I want to play this game. And I played it. And then that's where that evolved from, basically.
Cool. So I've heard from a couple people now that a boyfriend or a husband or fiance got them into D&D. That seems to be something I hear a lot from female players. And I'm wondering, like, I know from my perspective, as I kind of remember high school a little bit, parts of it, and my feelings about the game and, you know, who we played with and why. But I'm curious to hear from the ladies, what sense did you get from boys, men, high school, college, whatever, when you heard about D&D? What sense did you get as far as you were concerned? Like, were they eager to invite women to play? Was it something they kind of avoided around you? How did you feel about those things?
Well, I mean, I didn't know anybody who played D&D in high school or college. We played EverQuest together, but well, at least I don't know of anyone. I may have known them, but they just didn't mention it to me. But I mean, I think that it's generally considered not as, I don't know, socially acceptable for women to be in video games and any of those things. It's considered a male-dominated sort of thing, which is frustrating. But anyway.
I think for me, a lot of the guys that I know, because I know of classmates that I had that played D&D, but they didn't bring it up, and I think a lot of it was they didn't want to seem like nerds or geeks, even though that's like totally awesome to be a nerd or a geek. So I think,
well, it's awesome now.
Yeah, being cool.
Yes, it's definitely fashionable now. It's the end thing.
Yeah, being cool. They didn't want to, like, I want to say they didn't want to bore us, or they thought we wouldn't be interested, or they already had a game going for so long that they couldn't introduce new people to it. I think is more of the thing for my classmates in high school. But like I said, I did band and I did chorus and I did theater, so it was more of the arts and less of the like gaming that people saw from me. So I think it was just a general assumption that I wouldn't be interested because I'd never mentioned it.
For me, it was, like I said, I've always wanted to play it. I just didn't know anybody that played it until I got to college. And there were, you know, lots of people that played it there, even though we went to a very, you know, not a very big school. And once I saw what it was like, this is everything I ever wanted. I was so excited to be able to make my first character and to, you know, get in it. I think over time, I'm becoming more confident with like the role playing and stuff, because you sort of, I think the more you play it, the more you kind of can come out of your shell a little bit with that. And like in the campaigns that we're running now, you know, I'm even starting to like throw in a little voices here and there, just for flavor. But I just think that, and I never did anything like really theater or performing arts or anything like that, but this is just really something I got. Like, I got this, you know. It was just the setting and the characters and the worlds and just everything was everything I wanted to play. And it was so fun in that lull where, you know, between college and when John and I started dating, where it was only occasional. It was kind of a bummer because I missed it so much. But now, even with COVID, you know, we would get our group together whenever we could all get together in the same room, which sometimes is really hard because there's schedules and work and kids and, you know, holidays and barbecues. And so, but we got together as much as we could. But now with COVID, we're on Roll20 every week playing D&D, which is amazing. I'm I'm so happy. I love playing so much. We can play every day.
That's awesome. We never stopped working for us, so we didn't get like the free time to play. So it froze our games because we couldn't get together, and then we still had to work.
Yeah, we just basically, it's easier, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's easier now to find the time because we live, you know, an hour away, sometimes in some cases, depending on which friend is in the campaign, 3 hours away. Nick and Elizabeth are like a half an hour away. So, you know, it was travel time. It was arranging a day that everybody could be in the same room at the same time. And now it's just like, hey, y'all free at 8 o'clock on this day or 1 o'clock on the weekend. And that really freed us up to just be able to play more often.
And we could just do it for a couple hours, which is nice.
Yeah, instead of like our marathon, 6 or 7 or 8 hour sessions where we try and get everything in at the same time. Now we can be like, just little bites just to keep us going to the next week.
Well, I think Nick learned that we tried to schedule some of the D&D days when I was post-call because I had the day off, right? But when we're doing those 8-hour sessions and I've only gotten 2 hours of sleep, it just wasn't working.
Just poke you with a stick when it was your turn. Roll, Elizabeth.
Yeah. So, or I just get so cranky that I can't join you. But yeah, it has been nice doing just a couple hours a week, and then you can get into it or do it more often. So
yeah. But I don't think
two of the.
Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think
I think two of the things.
I did it again. You go now, Rebecca. Go.
Mm-mm.
Oh no!
Nope.
Oh no!
Not happening. Finish your thought.
Okay, I was just gonna say because I think John's original question was something about that guys had gotten. Yes. So I think that that probably is the case for a lot of women that play, just because, like you said, it's a guy thing, but it's not really a guy thing because there's plenty for women to do in D&D. There's plenty of, you know, strong female characters that you can build. There's plenty of strong female characters that you can take inspiration from. I know, you know, I sometimes take an idea of a character that I've seen before that I really enjoy, and then I kind of make it my own.
It doesn't have to be a strong female character. No. I have been working on in my head of a warlock that's based on Piglet from Winnie the Pooh.
That's adorable.
That's very fearful of everything she can do. But anyway.
But that's part of the fun, just getting that idea in your head and just building on that idea. Like, how do I want her to be? What do I want her to do? How do I want her to act? And it's just, there's so many choices for women.
I really like playing characters that are not like me. Like, for instance, touching the tapestry that was covered in a mysterious yellow powder and getting poisoned. Oops. But stuff like that, because my personality, I wouldn't be like, well, hey, let's investigate this. Like, in a game I do, because I'm one of those people that does all the side quests instead of the main story. So in a game I would, but not in real life. I'd be like, that looks dangerous. I should probably leave that alone.
Yes, you don't have to be practical in D&D.
Right. I rarely set things on fire in my real life. I tend to set a lot of things on fire in D&D. So yeah, that's
Fireball.
Yes. Fireball solves a lot of life's problems.
A lot of things.
I didn't ask how big the room is. I just said I cast Fireball.
I have 2 T-shirts that say that.
I bought you one.
You
but
did,
then it was too small.
I like the Kendra idea too. I'm gonna touch it.
Sorry, bad flashback to another player I played with. I think that you're going to find some division too in when because like I know I'm guessing I'm probably a decent amount older than Elizabeth. I know I'm a decent amount older than Brittany. I'm probably a little bit older than Jenny. When I first got introduced to it, high school would have been back in the 80s, which was, people weren't talking about it, not just because it was geeky, because I hung out with all the geeks. That really wasn't a problem. They already knew that I was very pro-geek because, well, I'm a geek. But the other part of it was the satanic panic. A lot of people you didn't advertise it because then you had to put up with somebody trying to, save you from yourself. I don't think at that time it was as, I think that they've worked really, really hard to make it much more of an open thing. I don't think it was aimed at women at all at the start, not by design, but simply because it was made up by boys that started playing. The people that created the game were playing it. They put it out there. They were thinking, hey, kids just like us would love to do this. Well, kids just like them were boys. So I think between that and the fact that a lot of the focus for a lot of people when they get in, I mean, think about it. Most people when they start, especially, and it may be different for us as women because we came into it at an older age. But when boys start, a lot of times they start young, and the very first thing they do is the dungeon crawl. I mean, it's hack and slash. There's no grace to it. It's what can we kill? How cool was that? What kind of stuff did I get?
The murder hobo.
So
Yeah.
yeah, which is fine, and women can do that. I actually like a good dungeon crawl, but it's not the kind of thing that societally we're encouraged towards as young girls. I mean, hell, even when you're looking at just the regular toys, there was always lots of controversy about boys' toys are about building an imagination and, managing resources and things like that, whereas girls' stuff is how to take care of babies and color inside the pretty lines, and don't you want a pretty dress for this doll and that kind of thing. And I don't think that's a solid cement thing. Not everybody has that, but I do think that it's something that you see more of. And because that's the way society has looked at things for so long, at least when I was starting to have interest in it, that was one of the things where girls weren't interested in things like that. And like I said, the boys that I knew thought it was great to talk to me. They were very excited to tell me about it. We didn't talk about it around everyone, but they thought it was really cool that I was willing to listen and I seemed excited about what they were doing. I don't know whether it was because they already had an established gaming group and they, bringing somebody else in would be weird, or if it was more just, I don't know, girl. There's no way to know at this point. I mean, that's millennia ago. So I think the other thing that you'll see is part of where you see that D&D really flourishes, the reason that it was played so much in a lot of the places you're talking about, the spaces you're talking about are school-age kids, either high school or college, military, and then when you're first starting out in your early 20s and stuff, even if you're only working, a lot of times you're not in an established routine as much as you are later in life. You don't have your kids or anything like that yet. So it's a really inexpensive way to spend time with your friends. It's very much the escapism, which when, you're stuck with a life that isn't quite living up to the full potential you're hoping for at that point, can be very, the kind of thing that really draws you in. So I think that a lot of times you'll find guys have gotten into that at that point because it's accessible to them. They've got friends who are like, oh, dude, you should come and do this with us. Oh, you're too broke to go to the bar. That's fine. We don't have any money either. Come play D&D. We all, split the cost of pizza and, a 6-pack and we play. And it's hours of entertainment on end. So I think that you see kind of a divide in maybe the men's attitude when they're bringing you in, depending on when you got into it. But I think you also see that a lot of people, there's a trend in when they get into it, when it's introduced to them. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I like that's good. I'll have to digest there.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, well, just
Sure.
to sort of tack onto that, and I can speak to our circumstances. I was really hesitant to bring my wife in when we were dating, to bring her into the game, because we had an established game, and I had a group of friends that I was really into hanging out with, and I had tried bringing in a girlfriend before I met Rebecca, and she looked shell-shocked. She was not a gamer. She sat there for the whole night. And it's role-playing. We made up a character for her. We tried to bring her in gently. We let her go. She said one thing the whole night. Now, it was a mic drop.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
It was awesome, but that was it. And she was done. And we didn't date after that. She was gone.
Oh.
So
No, there's no awe on that, because that means I got him.
That's
true.
That's a good point.
Well, I think the role-playing part of D&D is always, it's, for me, the hardest thing to get into. I enjoy, hanging out with everyone, but my characters always seem to be an extension of my own personality, and I haven't really, I think, made a character that wasn't either like a small gleeful person or a raging bitch. Those are two aspects of my personality.
Forewarned is fair warned. Thank you.
Those are both fun kind of characters to play, and those are both different aspects of my personality. So, I've been thinking about a couple characters that kind of go outside of my comfort zone with those two, but I have yet to really take that one in stride. I don't know. It's still it's a work in progress for me.
It really is. I think just because, I've played everything from, my pretty princess elven cleric, which was completely against typecast.
My raging bitch.
Yeah, and for me, like lifting up my skirts over a mud puddle just is not me. So that was hard.
Pretty
but
princess. Yes.
My pretty princess. She was fun to play, and I got a little more comfortable with her after a while. But it's just kind of fun to step into someone else's shoes for a while, and just kind of put your own spin on it.
Well, and that was fun too. Like that was one of the campaigns where I played my raging bitch character, right? And
we were like,
you and I get along very well,
yes.
But our characters did not.
No.
So we had to.
And that was hard, kind of to role play too, in a way, just
yeah.
because when you play two characters, that how are we going to make this necromancer with evilish tendencies work with this cleric of the light, and then we all died and the problem was solved. So but it was hard because we do get along so well in real life that you can see that those characters were building towards something. We just never got to that point because we went in the back door of a dungeon where the big guys were, and then we didn't
died
leave.
Horribly. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask. I have to ask because I know what my answer on this is, but I need to find out what your answers on this are, and then what the guys say. Having that dynamic, the difference between your friends' personalities and your characters' personalities. Have you ever had the whole discussion outside of the game, that whole, oh God, I hope you don't think, I'm really sorry, I hope I didn't upset you when I did. Have you had that? Because I don't think guys do that. But I've done that.
I think we had that conversation a couple times, Jenny.
I think we did, especially with that campaign.
Yeah.
Because it was so different for our own relationship that we're just like, you know.
You're not really annoyed with me, are you?
Exactly.
No, I'm not annoyed with you.
Like, I think it's super cool that you're trying to raise the dead, but Alira doesn't think it's so cool.
We
All right,
play,
boys, have you ever apologized to somebody else?
No.
Was that a no?
That's definitely a no. No.
All right, John, redeem men. Come on.
Well, I'll caveat this with, I don't play that much. I've been playing D&D for 42 years. I probably played like 1 or 2% of that time. I'm almost always a DM. So it doesn't come up to me as often. Usually, no. I guess I always have assumed that you're playing your character and I shouldn't take it personally. I mean, no, I don't apologize, and I don't get apologized to either. In my defense, nobody says, John, I'm sorry about that. They just do it.
Yeah, I think for girls, it's because you're not supposed to make people upset. Everyone is always supposed to be happy and smiling.
Well, and that was that character, the mean one that I was playing was the first time I had gotten away from the jolly small person. And she was super fun. But so I got to explore other aspects of my personality. But maybe I'll explore the fearful side of Piglet.
I do find that there's a dynamic I have noticed in our games, playing with Elizabeth and Jenny, is that they're a lot more careful about each other's feelings at the table than they are about the men's feelings. Like, they can care less if they kill Nick's character in a brutal fashion. That's funny.
It was an accident.
But if Jenny would accidentally do some damage to Elizabeth's character, she would apologize right away and say, I'm sorry, that was an accident, or for the better good or whatever. But Nick just gets laughed at. So
I apologize for
all the
killing
time.
Nick.
I apologize all the time, but it's usually for doing something stupid, like touching the curtain. Hold on.
Well,
Playing with Brittany would be exactly like playing with Shannon, Eric.
Yep. Yes, and I would count on that. It's something that I honestly, much like John, a huge percentage of the time I run the game now. So I tend to see those kind of things, and I will frequently, as a DM, I'll tweak them on purpose. If I know your characters are in positions that either are going to cause strife within the party or are going to make for an uncomfortable but an interesting role-playing position, I will totally poke you that way. I will do that on purpose as a game master. Now, when I was a player, I would do that, and I died constantly. My characters died all the time, and back me up on that one. Just constantly stupid things.
well, part of the fun of D&D is you can do things you wouldn't do in real life, right? So Jenny and I
bold of you to assume
towards...
he wouldn't do them in real life.
Well, but we tend towards chaotic characters, for instance, right?
Heavily.
Yes. Whereas, yes, my husband likes to go for the lawful type because he's lawful neutral in real life.
We've caused him many a hair flip, many a headache, but we love him. But it's fun, grabbing your two-handed axe and just chopping your way through a dungeon, and you don't give a shit about what's in front of you or what you've left behind. You're just like, I'm doing this.
See, that's not that far off from my regular personality, and pretty much all of our gaming group quickly understands that I'm kind of the person that's going to say and do the things that going to make somebody cry sooner or later anyhow, so I don't know if it's as much escape as I play that character.
Hey, look, there she is.
Brittany.
Oh,
Oh,
very
there she
briefly, and
Oh, and she's gone again.
I was muted, sorry.
Okay.
Do you have a question, Eric, you want to toss out to the panel?
Okay, bud.
So one of the things that drew me in early when I was very young was the imagery of the dead. So the imagery, particularly of the older gaming supplements and things like that, tended to skew very much towards things that would excite adolescent teen boys. Do any of you struggle with the imagery in Dungeons and Dragons? Or do you see any differences in it, or over time, anything that stands out particularly to you?
I think that the art style has changed. Not completely, not all the time, but I think you see less of the whole chainmail bikini thing than you used to see. You see some stuff that you don't look at and go, how in the hell would you fight in that? You would be dead.
I don't know. I still see a lot of that.
Well, there's still, but it's not absolutely everything. And believe me, in the beginning, it was absolutely everything. I mean, that it was drawn up as fantasy for the people who were creating it, much like the rest of the same way that they marketed it. It was aimed at those young boys. It was aimed at the same guys that came up with the concept, who they were when they originally came up with it. I think you see a lot less of that. I'm seeing a lot more, and that may be as much that there are more female artists who are drawing. And not all this stuff is official stuff. A lot of the times the stuff I'm seeing is fan art. So it may be just that it's more female artists too. I don't know. But there's definitely at least more stuff that you go, yes, you could fight in that and not die. Or you wouldn't, freeze to death. I don't know why, the only thing you have on are fur boots and 3 triangles. It never offended me. I mean, I can fully appreciate the whole, well, yeah, she's hot, but she's going to freaking die as soon as somebody tries to cleave. So, but it was definitely, it was more offensive to the idea of reality or logistics.
Well, I think I had the first character that was very short-lived sorcerer that died when she was level 3. But my second character was a hedonist barbarian. I love the idea that you didn't have to wear armor as a barbarian, so she didn't wear much of anything. She was very much a fur boots and 3 triangles kind of girl, which was fun to play. So I looked for many pictures of scantily clad half-orcs. But so I don't think I have a problem with the art at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm a teenage boy at heart.
Well, I was going to say I feel the same way as far as that goes. I understand how some of that can be taken, and obviously it does appeal to teenage boys, to 20-something boys, 30, blah blah blah. Every boy loves a red Sonja, or yes. It doesn't matter how old you are, that will appeal to you, and that's cool. But it also appeals to me. For some reason, I am totally fine being that barbarian with, not much on and running into battle.
Bikini.
Chainmail bikini. I played WoW for a million years. I'm totally fine with that. Logistically, it doesn't work, I mean, if you have your abdomen exposed or your shoulders or your legs, sure, you're, realistically, you're not going to last very long. But just visually, I don't know. I think there's almost something empowering there, too.
I would agree with that.
I think my biggest problem with it is, like I said, I like to dress up and then play the video games. So my thought process was, now I can't wear that because I don't want to be naked.
That's
naked,
fair.
it's fine.
I mean, that's fair.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. My kid was walking towards the road. I didn't want to have to throw the phone. Up on the foot.
I think that that's definitely one aspect of it. I think for a lot of women, it probably depends on their gaming group and how the people they're surrounded with, which hopefully most people settle into a group where they're very comfortable and it's a comfortable and welcoming environment. But I think if you do have that comforting and welcoming environment, that it very much allows you to, there's something really appealing about being able to run around half naked as a character, because I wouldn't do that to anybody in my gaming group, as a character to run around that way and not have to put up with shit to go with it. You can back up. If you get somebody who steps out of line, you can back up, making sure that it doesn't happen again. There's very little threat to it. People are not, it's not the focus of the game. I think that in and of itself is almost as much of a fantasy aspect for a lot of women as anything else. The fact that you don't have to put up with, oh, what am I going to be in? What is somebody going to say? Are they going to, are you going to be shamed for what you're wearing? Are you going to have somebody catcall you? Are you going to have whatever? So yeah, no, I can totally see that. I think that it makes a lot of sense that in a lot of ways that doesn't bother a lot of us. But then again, I'm also well past my years of going out places in anything that would cause anyone to catcall me anyhow. So that may be part of it for me too. That's not anything that's going to happen anytime soon outside of a character in a game.
Yeah, I was going to ask something about that. Has anybody had a bad experience as a player, not a character? Obviously, characters sometimes have bad days. Sometimes the party dies. It happens. But as a player, have you had an experience that you thought, I'm not sure I want to play the game anymore, or with this group anymore?
Not personally, but I know people who have.
Specifically because of personality conflicts, or specifically because of people making you unwelcome based on your gender?
Either or.
No, I don't think so, personally.
Well, I've only played with you guys, so no.
I've only ever played with my husband and our friends, so I haven't either. But I do know people who have had an experience where they're like, I don't want to play with you guys anymore, or I don't want to play.
Yeah,
but again,
we've had a lot of
me,
groups.
so I don't. Huh?
We've had a lot of groups, and that's definitely, we've had some people where things went really well for a long time, and then all of a sudden something happened and things got weird and they kind of went off the rails. So, but now that definitely was not something that I feel was specifically gender-based. We have gamed with people who made other of the females in our group feel uncomfortable. It tends not to work with me because I'm that person that tends to make other people cry. So I just tell people, knock it off or else, and then follow it up with what exactly I'll do if they don't, which is not generally anything to do with Eric. It's generally to do with me and removing parts of their body. So I don't have a lot of problem with that, but I have been in groups where the person has become enough of a killjoy that everybody gets stressed out about getting together to game, and we've ended games on that.
Yeah, I think we've been really lucky where, much like you guys, I think it's a family game. Jenny and I, of course, are married. Nick and Elizabeth are married, and Matt, and we think of our friends, our group, as our family in a lot of ways.
100%, yeah.
So if there's ever a personality conflict, we hash it out like brothers and sisters or husbands and wives do. You hash it out. If somebody gets a little bit loud for a moment, that's okay, because you love each other and you know where it's coming from. But I think I'm not sure all groups are this way, but I think ours is really respectful of each other. I mean, especially gender-based. I mean, I might insult Matt, his character, the way he dresses, the way he talks or something, but, I hope that I've never offended Jenny Elizabeth based on their sex, like, made them feel less than or objectified. I'd rather objectify Nick and Matt. It's much more fun for me to have them squirm as I have my characters hit on them and catcall them and squeeze their bottoms, and because they don't get that in real life enough, I don't think, so they need it.
No, I mean, I think either Elizabeth or myself, we give as good as we get, I think, overall. So, I've never really felt any gender bias because, we hang with the guys and that's how we play. And so far, at least, I think it's worked out for us.
Yeah, Nick and I have been doing a very long, sporadic campaign with my family in Montana. My, niece and nephew, and my sister and my, 70-something-year-old father, who originally got me into EverQuest. So that's been a little patchy. I think the teenage girl didn't want to play it for very long because she wanted to go, play with non-nerdy things. Yeah. It is what it is, right? But I've never felt unwelcome in our usual ED game or D&D game.
I'm gonna throw in just for a second here because I think our current group, which is on hiatus, but our current group is actually all women except for Dave and myself, and not women who are with each other. They're all in their own separate relationships. So it's been a very interesting process or journey. We also have a wide range of experience versus inexperience. Two of the women that are in our group have a very limited amount of experience. One is middle ground, and then myself, my wife Rebecca, and Dave all have many, many years of experience. So it's been a very interesting mix. And I always think that I think it now. I won't say always. I think it's really important to have that sort of a mix, but it's something from my perspective that I've always had a great deal of concern about because two reasons. One, guys will do dumb things to impress women. And two, relationships will kill a game. The D&D party is not your dating pool. So I think once you've reached an established relationship, and maybe you all feel differently about this, so I'll let you go with that in a second. But there was a time when who we were dating, who we were not dating, killed game groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we have that. Like, I mean, John and Jenny met, doing D&D. My husband, we had only just started dating maybe a few months, I think, when we first did D&D.
He tested you, and you passed.
Yes. Yes, there was an element of, oh God, I hope his friends like me. But yeah, so I don't know. I've always, found it a relationship-based game, I guess, but that's.
Yeah, that can be really intimidating when you walk into an established gaming group that the person you started dating has been in. And I did it with two different gaming groups when Eric and I started dating because it was the same group of people, but it was two different games and two different DMs. And fortunately, we got along. We all got along. We did really well for a long time. I think part of that with us, some of the breakups over time had as much to do with the fact that people were going in different directions, and not everybody was at the same place in life as much as it was anything else. I mean, one or two of them, it was, we had one or two guys that didn't know how to behave in an appropriate manner, either always trying to one up the other guys or trying to score one of the girls. But overall, overall, it wasn't really that big a deal. But I think that would be hella awkward for a lot of people to try to walk in to an established gaming group with somebody that they just dated, especially if it ends up the way some of the friendships we've had, where we've started off being friends with somebody and ended up keeping their ex whenever they stopped being together. If that happened with your gaming group, I could see that being a little awkward, because, you know, who gets the gaming group in the divorce?
Yeah, and sadly, that was a legitimate question for one of our groups, because the DM got divorced. So the answer is nobody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little intimidating coming in. I think, like your old girlfriend, I probably said one or two things during the whole first session. I don't really remember, but yeah, it definitely takes some getting used to. I think just the game in general, not necessarily the group, because everybody was very welcoming, but it's very different to have a role-playing aspect if you've never done it before. And so that's intimidating no matter what.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing.
Exactly. Who does, right? Like,
I've been playing for ages, so I still don't always know what I'm doing. That's called improvisation. I meant to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think role playing sometimes has that almost negative connotation, like, you know, you're LARPing in your backyard or whatever, and which is, I think, perfectly acceptable.
I mean, I LARP in my backyard.
I like to cosplay.
Cloak weather.
Like I said, I have no problem with this, but I think the common misconception, you know, has some negative connotations for people, where really role playing is just, I think I mentioned it earlier, you're kind of stepping into shoes you might not be able to step in otherwise. You know, you're able to be that crazy person that, you know, throws that fireball into a crowd, or that, you know, strong warrior woman that just, you know, fucks up that group of goblins. It's just really cool to be able to take on those personas and, yes, role play it. And, you know, you might be a little hesitant at first, or maybe not. Maybe you jump right in with both feet, but I think I've definitely gotten a little more confident as time goes on, just trying new things and, you know, trying to get out of your zone a little bit. And I think that those negative connotations should be positive ones, because, you know, you're using your imagination, and you're just using all those kinds of things that you might not be able to in your regular everyday life.
I was going to say, I think it actually builds confidence in every aspect of your life. I think there's it gives you a lot of resources to draw on once you've done it, and you get more comfortable with it, of walking into situations that you may not be as prepared as other people will assume you are, based on the fact that you go, okay, so this is what we've got. Here's what we're going to do. And I think gaming in general does that for you.
I would agree. Okay. I think we're at a good place. It's been roughly an hour and some. Any last thoughts anybody wants to throw out there about, you know, the topic gender and gaming? Now's the time.
I think if anybody's out there, any girl, woman who feels like, man, that's something I've always wanted to try, but I just don't feel like I can do it, don't think that. It's super fun, and it's so imaginative, and I'm happy I've been able to have it in my life for as long as I have been. And I'm lucky to be able to play with the people I play with, my family.
There are a surprising number of people that I didn't think would play D&D or would think it was not cool because it was nerdy. And like half the people at my work are all into cosplay. I mean, I work at a fabric store, but they're all into cosplay. They're all into D&D. We play Pokemon Go. And it's just common denominators between people you wouldn't normally have any icebreakers with.
I think it's about exposing them to it. My best friend from residency, we decided to try and make her a character, and she was really excited about it. And you never think that, you know, she's a doctor in New York, and you know, likes to quilt and travel. Those are her big things. And so I don't know if I would necessarily call her nerdy, except for the, you know, nerdy doctor type, right? And she had a lot of fun with it. So it's about exposing other people to it, and trying it yourself, even if it's not in your wheelhouse, I guess.
I would actually tack on to what you said, Jenny, and I really hope that anybody that's out there that wants, not only do you go out and try it, but if you do have a bad experience, don't give up on it just because of that. There are a lot of people out there who are more than happy to have people who aren't the same skill level as they are, who aren't the same background as they are, who aren't the same gender, who aren't the same age, whatever. There are a lot of people out there. Keep reaching out, because I really do think that you do form very close ties with people that you spend that kind of time with. And when you role play in a certain way, you make yourself pretty vulnerable. So I think that it ties those binds even tighter.
Great. Well, thank you all. Eric, any last thoughts about women in gaming? Be careful.
You have to live with one.
Have to live with more than one.
It's true.
Because we brought my daughter in to play as well. And I think if there are girls, women out there who are listening, reach out to somebody that you think you would be comfortable having a conversation and or a friendship with. And sometimes you have to be very clear and obvious, even more so than you might think. Guys are not subtle. It's okay. Guys are not subtle. So if you think that they're playing and you don't walk up to them and say, "Hey, I'd like to play," they might not get it.
Yeah, they're all pretty much convinced you don't want to spend time with them, so just tell them what they're going to do next.
That tends to work.
That's generally how my relationship goes. Yeah.
It's generally how most relationships work.
Say nothing about that. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time and your energy here, and we love you. And until next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies, wonderful meeting you.
You as well.
Nice meeting you too.
Yes.
Hey, if
And my kid. Sorry.
yeah, if you want to hang out for a second, I'll
he
tell
was
you that
fine.
story. You don't have to record that part.
Okay, I'll stop. Thank you for watching our episode about women in Dungeons and Dragons. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button below and share this video with your friends. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time here on Attacks of Opportunity.